Welcome to the Elite Life with Trisha and Kylee. This is where we'll teach you how to develop grit, give yourself grace, and succeed in real estate. So let's dive in.
What are you doing?
I'm eating. You said that this episode was about food, so I brought my food.
You can't eat and podcast at the same time.
But I'm hungry. You've held me hostage here, and I'm hungry. You promised me this episode was about food. Okay?
We are going to dish about our favorite dishes.
So I brought my favorite dish. You said bring your favorite dish. We're going to talk about it. I have to eat it.
I said talk about it, not eat it, though. I seriously can't take you anywhere.
Well, it's good. I don't know what to tell you. Fine, I'll put it down.
All right. You know what? You can eat. I will start this episode. Realtors live in their car, right? A lot of people live in their car. You got busy moms, busy dads, busy in whatever you're doing. And we spend a lot of time as humans in our cars. So we are going to go over, first of all, our favorite snacks for on the road. And then we're going to talk about our favorite recipes that are quick and easy, because you don't have to slave over the stove for 4 hours to have a good meal.
I put this one together. Total, including sides, 15, 20 minutes.
That's bomb, because that goes by fast, right? Like, you're running around, you're grabbing your dishes, your kids are screaming, we're starving, beating the crap out of each other in the living room, and bing, bang, boom, you got some food to calm them all down, right?
Yeah. And it's good, too. All right.
So I guess I'll start. So snacks, right? I like to try to eat pretty healthy nowadays. I will say for a long time, like all through my teens and 20s when I had an actual metabolism before I got old, when it came to like getting on the road and road trips, it was all about like junk food, right? It was like, give me some Oreos and some chips and like then that's why I ended up over 200 pounds, which is for another episode. But now I try to take healthy snacks on the road. So I always like have in my car protein bars. Those are always easy to go to.
What's your favorite brand?
So I like RX bars because they are fully clean. There's no added sugar to RX bars.
Okay.
Usually it's like a date, an egg, and peanuts, which might sound disgusting, but they're absolutely delicious.
Wait. You're telling me that you eat a brick of food that's made out of dates, eggs, and peanut butter?
Yeah, and it's delicious. It's delicious. Try RX bars. You can buy a box of mini RX bars. All right, I have some in the kitchen. We'll taste test after the break later, okay? So
all right, fair enough.
There we go. Fair enough. So I like RX bars. I like Cliff bars. They're really good too. They're pretty healthy for you. But when we're talking about bars too, I want people read the freaking labels. And Dave went to the store while we were in Minnesota, and he gets this box of protein bars, and I'm like, it's hilarious to me that they call these protein bars when they have 40 grams of carbs and 3 grams of protein.
Don't blame him.
They're carb bars. It's not his fault. It's advertising's fault. So I want to start with that disclaimer. Like, if you are trying to eat healthy, which I feel like everybody's really trying to tune into their health,
right.
Especially being earlier in the year, we might still be on our new year, new me kick. But when it comes to eating healthy, if you get something that's in a box, which you need for your car, right? It has to be able to last a little while. Make sure you read those labels. Make sure you check into those macros. What is the protein count, the carb count? The fat count, especially because a lot of those bars are very high fat, and high fat means high calorie, which means it's not actually healthy for you. So don't just accept that it says protein on it, that it's a good thing.
It's a lie in a package.
It is a lie in a package. So I like to keep some good healthy protein bars. I usually keep jerky in there, which I know people are listening like, oh, it's full of, sodium, blah, 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 blah. It is high protein. It will do the job when you're on the road. And then usually I have like a bag of pistachios in there. And those are like 3 things that will last a long time and are easy to grab, and can kind of always just be in there. And then when I know I'm going to go out for the day, I try to pack snacks like I have my little lunchbox with a little ice pack in there. Baby carrots are easy. Celery sticks are easy. Cherry tomatoes are easy. Fruit, of course, apples, bananas, cheese sticks, especially since you have your little, ice pack in there. The cheese stick will stay cold. Greek yogurt is an easy one. Boiled eggs. I am able to peel a boiled egg with one hand.
Okay.
Because it is a great source of protein.
We should have pre-boiled some eggs so you could prove that.
I know. One day I was like, this has to be like, a Guinness Book of World Records that I can peel an egg with one hand.
Just from driving and peeling.
Yes.
I feel like you're just sitting there I don't know. I feel like that would be just like patting your head and rubbing your tummy.
Right. And then with bananas, I got you on that kick where I will take a tortilla, like an Olay wrap.
Yep.
And then put a little bit of peanut butter in it and wrap my banana up in it and put it in a napkin. And that's an easy, really good, sustainable snack.
I have been adding cinnamon. Ooh. I've been sprinkling cinnamon. Or mixing, I'll take my peanut butter or at our house, because the kids at school is all nut free. So there's no nuts, which is fine, whatever. I'll spend $49 on an 8-ounce jar of sunflower seed butter, sure. But I'll mix some cinnamon oil. I've got some essential oils. And that just gives it a little kick, a little bit, if you're sick. Because my biggest problem is I like variety. I like a ton of variety. My husband, he could eat the same thing over and over so long as it was fried fish, mashed potatoes, and green beans. But I like variety. So I love the banana wraps because it's something that you can just wrap up in tinfoil. It'll keep for the most part. I don't know. It's hard, I feel like, in Michigan, especially coming up to the spring, because you're okay, yesterday was 50 degrees and I definitely needed the ice pack in my lunchbox. Today it's 2, so everything is frozen. But the other thing that I've learned from you is frozen grapes. I like those too.
Yes, those are a fave. I actually have some grapes in the fridge that probably could go in the freezer right now. So it's a great way too, if you're not moving through fruit fast enough, to go ahead and freeze your grapes, freeze your bananas, because it's like having ice cream.
Speaking of ice cream, super quick recipe. So all you need is I'll take my bananas that are getting ready to die, I'll slice them up, and I'll freeze them overnight. And then I'll take a can of coconut milk and you put it in the back of the fridge to cool it off so all of the cream solidifies. Then you take that, you blend it up with the bananas, stick it back in the freezer, and you have some all natural ice cream. It's so freaking good. I could die. You could sprinkle some dark chocolate chips in there too. Just blew her mind. Look at that.
I did. You did. I want some of this right now. I'm starving.
It is so good. That's a Mama Higgins special right there.
Love it. She has some great healthy recipes. We'll have to have her on one day so she can give us some extra part 2 to yummy food to have as a realtor.
Yeah, we'll have to ask. We'll have to ask her about her date balls. Her chocolatey date balls.
Okay, let's hurry up and switch that before it goes down a hole. What other snacks do you keep in your car, Kai?
So I eat the baby food pouches. I won't even lie to you. Plum Organics makes a very delightful banana pumpkin blend. It keeps. It hits that sugar, if you're driving in the car. Because a lot of times it can be spontaneous being a realtor. You're at the office. You think you're going to wrap up your floor time. Nope. Someone needs to go see houses until 8 o'clock. So having stuff in the car is super important if you're trying to avoid fast food or if you don't have time to hit that line. It never ceases to amaze me how many people will sit in a line at Tim Hortons or Starbucks or somewhere like that for a cup of coffee or some donuts. So I keep the baby food in the car. Same with beef jerky. I love beef jerky because you come to a place where your body's just craving that protein and having that on hand is super awesome. On the other hand, I keep Twizzlers in my car because I have a problem. And I always have a bottle of water or 79 in my car because between me and the kids or whoever else, like always thirsty. I've actually been showing houses in the middle of summer and they're vacant houses. The utilities aren't on. I've had water that I was able to give to my clients and things like that. But the only thing is like in the summertime or depending on where you're at, you have to keep an eye on those things because having the plastic heat up for too long can make the water yucky.
Yeah,
Just
for sure.
sad.
For sure. Let's talk meals, right? So we both have kids. My kids are older now, so I cook a lot less than I used to.
Oh, that's nice.
It's
nice for you.
It is nice for me. I would have kept cooking for them, but they revolted because I put squash in too many things, and I just, stopped wanting to fight. I'm like, fine, fend for yourselves. And so they got Dave to start cooking.
Dad, Mom, sneaky vegetables. My girlfriend Amanda, actually, she had a shout out to Amanda Lang, amazing mom. So she taught me how to sneak because Casey's super picky. Amanda taught me how to sneak veggies into spaghetti. Her family has trouble eating carrots, so she'll shred up some carrots or get the already shredded carrots and sneak them into the spaghetti sauce. Sorry, Amanda, if your kids are listening to this, totally ruined your secret. Or like I would put squash in Casey's macaroni and cheese because it's already orange. And you're already eating it. So shut up and eat your vegetables.
Right. So that's funny you mentioned spaghetti because for a couple years, I had switched to spaghetti squash for our spaghetti. So I wasn't making regular noodles. I was using the spaghetti squash and, shredding it up. And the kids, I would be like, it's spaghetti. And they'd eat the spaghetti. And one day Trent had a friend over. His friend Zach came over. And Zach's like, your mom's making squash. I'm not eating that. And he's like, no, she's making spaghetti. And he's like, that is squash. And Trent's like, is that squash, Mom? And I'm like, it's spaghetti squash. And he was like, never again. Like that was the end all be all. Like,
and he never saw that friend ever again, did
he? And that's why you have no friends.
Divulging all my secrets.
I was so mad. And I was like, so then from there on out, like literally everything I make, he go, is this squash? Is this squash? And like after a while, I would make food. So the way I used to do it is I would take my Google Calendar. I would go online. I would take one day, take Sunday, and I would carve out like 3 hours of my Sunday. And I know it sounds like a lot of time, but you're doing this one time you sit for 3 hours.
And you save yourself
a ton of time over the year. So I would sit for those 3 hours and I would plan out every single dinner that I was going to make for 6 months.
Shut up.
And on my Google Calendar, every single day it had what we were going to eat for the next 6 months. And then after I made it, I would move that meal from that day to 6 months later. So I would only repeat a dish twice a year. And I had every day already decided. So one time a year, I planned out all of my meals for the year. They were all on the Google Calendar. So there was zero, like, what are we going to eat today? We were making sure we were eating healthy. We had vegetables. It was a lot of one-pot meals, like slow cooker meals, your Instapot meals. So it was very easy because I would break it down to, okay, let me pick five meats or proteins, or even 3 meats or proteins if you want to keep it simple. So, turkey breast, chicken breast, and maybe beef, right? And you can get a big thing of beef, chop up some, slice up some, same with your chicken. And I would take a big gallon bag and I would separate my meats into, 5-gallon bags. And I would only do 5 days. Saturday and Sunday were like leftover days. So whatever you liked, or if you want to kind of pick a free for all.
Yeah.
But every day of the week, I had, a gallon Ziploc bag. I'd put my meat in, I'd put my veggies in, I'd put my seasonings in, and then I'd pop them in the freezer. And then the night before, I'd set them either in the sink or in the crisper to thaw. And then in the morning, I dumped them in the pot, hit the button, and left.
Yeah.
So super, super easy. I just had to spend one day, 3 hours planning. And then each Sunday I would Kroger click list my food, put it in the cart, order the cart, bring it home, put it all out on the counter, food prep for the week, and I was done. That was it. I didn't have to think about food for the whole rest of the week. And it was so nice. And I say was because now instead of doing that, because I'm the only one like still eating super, super clean and on a plan and stuff like that, now I go to a place, we have them in Michigan. It's called Primalate, Primealte or something along the lines. Google it. But they do all my food prep for me. So I literally walk in, I get 10 meals for $50 and I bring them home and I just pop them in the microwave and they're delicious. They're delicious. And it has all your macro counts right on it.
That's cool.
So that totally works for me. And then, me or Dave will cook the kids a meal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I feel like dinner time, especially moms and dads, if you're in this industry or period, really, that can be so stressful. It can be so stressful. But also, like my daughter Casey, I've mentioned, she's super picky. So, once a week we're having tacos. Once a week we're having spaghetti. Once a week we're having hot dogs, right? And being able to plan it out, like you're saying, to where everybody can see it, everybody knows what we're having, that takes the surprise away from driving home from school. And because we would get, before we started doing stuff like that, you pick the kids up, immediately they're hungry, right? Can I have a snack? No, we're going to have dinner in an hour and a half. You're not going to have a snack. Okay, what's for dinner? Chicken and veggies. Blah, you know what I mean? Like super meltdown. I don't want it. Blah, blah, blah. So now there's no surprises. And the other thing, can I just shout out to parents right now? Like, I've stopped arguing with Casey. She would throw an epic fit. I just look at her and I'm like, that's fine. If you don't want to eat what we have, don't eat. And sometimes, most often, she will sit down eventually and eat what we're having. Sure. Because I don't usually make things that she doesn't like because I know she doesn't like them, right? But other times she's like, you know what? I'm just going to go to bed and that'll be the end of that. So, like, please shout out to all the parents, like, stop arguing with your picky eater. If they don't want to eat what you make, then just... my husband, sometimes he'll feel bad and he'll be like, well, we can at least give them what they feed people in prison. You can have water and some bread. And then she'll go to bed, and I'm just like, okay. But I'm in the same boat as you. Like, before we started prepping, it was super chaotic. What are we going to make? Things like that. But I do the same thing now. I'll get a big thing of chicken and I'll slice some up for fajitas, chop some veggies and onions. Onions a veggie. Peppers and onions, that goes in a bag to marinate with some oil and the fajita seasoning, right? Mm-hmm. So then I'm going to chunk up and I'm going to have that for Alfredo, or I'm going to fillet them and we're just going to have chicken and veggies. And I think that another big stressful part for parents really is, wanting to feed your family like really good food. And I know as a mom, like, I love the feeling of making like this big old meal and everybody's happy and, we're all eating our food, but it doesn't have to be this big thing where like in front of the friggin' stove all day long.
Yeah, for sure. Last night, Trent came home and he's like, oh, I'm starving. And I'm like, okay, what do you want? Running through. He's like, oh, I don't want any of those. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make tortellini with garlic bread. And he's like, okay. And tortellini with garlic bread, the whole house loves it. And it's something that's hearty. They get protein, they get pasta, they feel full. And it's not junky, right? It's not fried, it's not greasy. So
right.
You feel good about making it. And it's as simple as I take a bag of tortellini, I boil it, I put the sauce in a pan, pop the garlic bread in the oven. It is maybe 15 minutes. Plate it up, go to town, and all the kids are like, oh, this is great, thank you so much. And I'm like, oh yeah, I slept for like all of 5 seconds.
Right. We do the same thing with ravioli. Ravioli is a big win at our house. I have to get the meat and the cheese because we all eat all of it, but I also crack a spaghetti sauce jar and an Alfredo jar. Because I'm one of those weird people. I mix my Alfredo sauce with I love it. It's so good. I always thought it was gross, never having tried it until I met Heather Covell. And she one day, I don't remember if she brought it in or if it came back with her from lunch. But I remember looking, I'm like, that doesn't look like spaghetti sauce. She's like, girlfriend, it is both sauces. I'm like, what? what? So now I'm a double saucer.
Interesting. So just to follow that up too, one thing I have learned the hard way over time that I think could help maybe some parents out there, for years and years and years and years and years, and sometimes Dave, I notice, still does it, we would make the kids plates, right? So we make a plate, we sit it in front of them, and then we're like, eat your dinner. And then they eat 4 bites and they're like, I'm done. So like last night, they're like looking and like waiting for the plates. I'm like, make your plates, because I don't know how hungry you are. You might be 4 bowls hungry, or you might be 2 bites hungry. And if I pile this big old plate on there and then I'm sitting there fighting with you to finish it, like that's no fun for either of us. But if I'm like, here you go, here's the spoon, here's the food, make your plate, you're going to plate what you're hungry for, right? And that's going to eliminate the argument. And if you make your kids eat when they're full, guess what? You are developing so many eating problems for them in the future, because I'm going to raise my hand as someone who will eat until I hate myself instead of eating until I'm full, because that's just what was ingrained in me. Like, you sit and you eat until your plate is empty.
Right.
And so we're not doing ourselves any favors by making this plate for our kids and then getting mad at them when they don't eat it. And we're not doing them any favors, because in the future they have awful relationships with food. And I think most parents have fallen into doing that at one time or another, because we're like, oh, we'll just make the plates, it'll be easier. But we don't know how hungry they are. So
that's a good point.
It just makes it harder for all of us.
Yeah, that's a good point. So our producer Dave handed us these little packages. This is an RX bar, and mine says chocolate sea salt, but I was just informed that that's not the good one.
Nope, the good one is peanut butter chocolate.
Yeah, we'll see
Peanut
about
butter
that.
makes everything better.
All right, so here we go. So I'm gonna open this because so it says 1.5 egg whites, 3 almonds, 2 cashews, 1 date. No BS.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't expect that to taste very good.
Yeah, mine has 1.5 egg whites, 7 peanuts, and 1 date. Also no BS.
All right, let's see. I think it's going to taste like garbage.
Well, mine's delicious, so.
Oh, la-ti-da. I'm so delicious. Oh, my God.
It's delicious. Keep eating. Taste.
I'm not sure if delicious is the word I would use for these.
No.
I feel like you've been eating healthy for so long, you've just desensitized yourself to good food.
Dave is also agreeing with you over there.
Producer Dave is nodding his head. Listen, these are not bad. Definitely had worse. However, they're not bad. I'll take my Twizzlers and my baby food pouch, though.
The baby food pouch isn't that weird too. Probably people are listening are like, what the heck? You ate baby food? But when I was training for my marathon last year, my nutrition coach was like, you should get baby food pouches to put in your running vest. And I'm like, who wants to eat baby food? And she's like, dude, just try it.
You do.
It was delicious. Yes. The Happy Tots. I got like apple cinnamon oats. Super good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I try all the baby food before I feed it to Everett. Ryan thinks that's weird. Like the other day, he doesn't even warm up the baby's food. I'm like, what are you doing? You're abusing our son, not warming up his food. Amanda doesn't either. Nice shout out. Another shout out to Amanda. I give you props, then I throw you under the bus.
It's been 18 years since, Trent had baby food, but I'm pretty sure. I don't remember warming it up either.
What is wrong with you people?
I mean, maybe I did.
Okay. So I got into this this RX bar. I will say, if you're craving something healthy, chewy, that'll hit that sweet spot, this is not bad.
See? And you need a snack in your car. Like, if you're hangry, that's going to taste like miraculous. Let's be real.
Yeah, I've been so hungry where I've eaten things and I'm like, this is going to be terrible. And it was delightful. I mean, I have found things in my car. I mean, I have children, right? So they drop things. So I have found things that I've eaten.
You're like cold French fry. Do I do it? Do I do it?
Yeah.
Why not? I'm starving.
That's like when Kaya, I came in the living room one day and I saw her chewing on something. I'm like, what you eating? Couch nugget. Couch nugget. So I'm like, that's a chicken nugget that has fallen into the couch or under the couch. And then I had to count back to how many days we last ate chicken nuggets. I'm like, okay, we had that yesterday for lunch, so it should be good.
Unless it was a nugget from like last week, in which case she may have gotten poison.
She's got a pretty strong gut system going on. She's got a steel tummy.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I will have food out of the fridge that's been in there for 8-9 days. Like, there's food that I will eat. I say 14 days is the cutoff. And like TJ at the office is like, that is disgusting. You are going to die of salmonella poisoning. And I'm like, no, bro, it's good for like 14 days in our fridge.
Yeah, my dad's the same way. Like the day the bread, the expiration date. And I'm like, Dad, it doesn't say expires. It says best used by. Me, I don't have time for that. I don't have money for that. I'll eat bread until I open it and it smells like it's fermenting, right? So until then, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's bread.
We've been keeping our bread in the refrigerator, and we find that keeps it better much longer than when we had it in the cupboard.
All right.
All right. Well, you get all of that off your teeth. I will share my recipe that the kids really like. It's not necessarily a healthy recipe, but Trent had this at a friend's house. Tracy Queen, if you listen to my podcast, shout out to you. And he came home and he's like, oh my gosh, Mom, we had this amazing dish. And I'm like, oh, what was it? And he's like, I don't know. It had corn and tater tots. So I messaged her and she's like, oh girl, that's tater tot casserole. It is done in like 5 seconds. Like, it's super easy. And I'm like, all right, shoot it over to me. She's like, this is it. Okay. She's like, you take 2-3 pounds of ground beef, depending on how big you're doing it. Just brown your ground beef, get the oil out and then put it on the bottom of a casserole dish. Take a can of creamed corn.
Creamed corn?
Yep. Take a can of creamed corn. Put it over top of it. Take a thing of sour cream. I know this sounds crazy. Take a container of sour cream. Put that over top of the creamed corn. Then put a thin layer of cheese. Now, I then take pre-cooked bacon, and I put the pre-cooked bacon over that. And then a row of tater tots. And then sprinkle a little more cheese on top of it. Salt and pepper. Pop it in the oven. And just let it cook until those tater tots are golden. And the kids love it. They love it. Love it, love it, love it.
See, I feel like a lot of those things you mentioned, I can totally get on board with. And then you hit creamed corn and I'm like, what is happening here?
It's just like, I think it helps with something else that has a wetter texture to just keep it in that casserole consistency.
Okay. Instead of becoming slop.
Right. Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Try it.
Okay. I'll do that.
Tell us yours.
Okay. So what I love, I learned this recipe from my spiritual mentor. Shout out to Darcy Foote for this because it is one reason why Ryan and I stay married. He loves my pot roast. He loves Darcy's pot roast. Okay, so you get your pot roast. You get your roast. I forget the technical name of the cut from the cow. So you get your chunk of meat. You freeze it. You want to make sure it sits in the freezer at least for 24 hours, if not 48. And this is the key because you're going to cook it all day on day. So you want to make sure that it stays moist, and that's the whole secret. I could probably stop there, but then you get a package of ranch dust. You get a package. Okay, so for those of you who don't speak Kyleenese, ranch dust is the little packet of like the ranch mix that you're supposed to put in like sour cream or mayonnaise, which to me is totally gross. But you sprinkle that on half on one side, half on one side, then you flip it, you sprinkle the other half on the other side. After you get your, I got to back up. So then you're going to take the meat out of the freezer. You're going to throw it in your crock pot.
Add meat to the pot roast.
Add meat to pot roast. So you're going to put it in the pot roast or in the crock pot. You sprinkle your dust, and then you get a packet of the au jus dust mix. Put that half on one side, half on the other. Then you get a jar of like the whole pepperoncinis, and you're going to plop some of those in there. I use like 5 to 6, and I always make sure 1 or 2 land on top. Then you're going to put maybe like an inch and a half of water. And then you cook it on low for like 7 hours. When you come home, when you come home, it's going to be done. Then all you have to do is, I cheat. So I use instant mashed potatoes. I'm sorry. I just do. My spiritual brother, Jeremy, he refuses to eat instant mashed potatoes. So when we have family dinner, I am not in charge of potatoes. So I use instant mashed potatoes. That's 5 minutes. And then you steam some green beans. That's another 3 to 5 minutes. And you're done. And you have a good, hearty, filling, tasty meal that you can feed your family. And the next day, I'll take some of that roast beef, if there's any left over, and I'll shred it up and I'll throw it in a wrap with some lettuce and like some ranch or something like that. And it's delightful.
It sounds delicious.
It is so good.
I love that you have multiple ways to repurpose it too, because, you know, sometimes you make this big dinner and you may not want to eat that exact same thing again, but I love that you can then throw it in a wrap. And so it's same but different.
Well, Ryan will take, Dave and I were talking about garlic bread earlier. Ryan will take 2 pieces of that Texas toast garlic bread. He'll get those all done up. He'll put the roast beef on there. He'll put some leftover instant mashed potatoes on there, put a little bit of gravy, and eat it like a sandwich.
He was probably talking about garlic bread because
you have 29 boxes
we have
of
29
it.
boxes. I mean, is there a household that this does not have? If this does not happen at your house, I want to know you, because you're obviously a better human than me. But you get in these like modes like, okay, we need more rice, we need more rice, we need more rice, we need more rice. And for whatever odd reason, you end up with 100 bags of rice and no mashed potatoes. And I feel like it happens with like different things too. Like 1 minute we'll have no cereal. So I'll remember to order cereal 16 times. And then we have 55 boxes of cereal, but we have no milk. And so I can't be the only one that this happens to. Like
this happens to us, but with ranch, because both of my kids are little. Well, all 3 of them are little. Everett hasn't, he hasn't developed an addiction to ranch yet. Like my 7-year-old, my 5-year-old. It's coming. Nothing can be eaten without ranch at our house. Chicken, I'm not just talking chicken nuggets, French fries. I'm talking green beans, broccoli, cauliflower, salad, sandwiches, cheese sticks. Everything gets ranch on it. So if you go into my basement pantry, I have more ranch than Kroger because I bought all their ranch.
Right. Well, there's just those things that like you don't want to run out, because the kids will be like, oh my God, I can't believe we don't have garlic bread. And you're like, okay, I didn't know it was that serious, but now I don't have to ever hear you because we have garlic bread for 785 years.
I mean, Jesus is going to come and we're going to have the garlic bread when we get to heaven.
It's like the loaves and fish story. We have many loaves. I bring the loaves, you bring the fish. We're good to go.
That sounds great.
We're feeding all the people. And on that note, praise Jesus, amen. This episode is over.
Listen, if you love what you're hearing, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You know you're going to want to come back for more. Share this, because at the very least, you're going to get a couple giggles, if not learn some amazing things that you can apply in your own life. Share it on Facebook, Instagram. Go subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening, and drop us a love note. We love to hear from our listeners. If you prefer email, my email is Kylee, Kylee, at mystarsacademy.com. Just let us know what you want to hear. Tell us that we're fabulous, or maybe if we're not. And come back for more next week.
Yeah, more grit, grace, and real estate. Ciao.
We thank you so much for joining us today on the Elite Live with Trish and Kylee. Be sure to share the episode with a friend so we can continue bringing you more great tips on grit, grace, and real estate. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook. We hope the ideas we share continue to help you build an empire and leave a legacy.